According to Professor Yuan Hongbin, a Chinese dissident living in Australia, in a closed-door meeting in November 2024, Xi Jinping issued his instructions. And his instructions were interpreted and carried out or put into action by his chief strategist, his ideological architect, Wang Huning, the most dangerous man in the world. He translated Xi Jinping's words into action and gave 4 orders for the Taiwan Affairs Agency in November 2024. So his order number 1 is he raged over Taiwanese government's investigation into Ke Wen-je, leader of the Taiwan People's Party, TPP. Ko is accused for corruption while being the mayor of Taipei. He had been Beijing's backup plan, the anti-China looking puppet they could use if power shifted. Wang Huning called Ko's downfall a huge loss to Beijing's United Front efforts. And his order number 2 is Wang pointed to the violent clash inside Taiwan's legislature on May 28, 2024, when opposition lawmakers pushed through sweeping reforms that expanded parliament's power. Chaos erupted, but Wang said it wasn't enough. He demanded something bigger, more damaging, more violent, something that would scar Taiwan's political order, shall we say. And then his order number 3 is I think it's the most terrifying. And he said, we don't need to consider Taiwan's elections in 2028. So in other words, CCP doesn't anticipate a 2028 elections in Taiwan. Does this mean that in their plan, 2024 election was the last one? Well, think about it. Wang made the statement just 9 months ago, and now we're less than 3 years from 2028. And his order number 4 is clear. His instruction is clear. Act now, no more waiting. All CCP agents inside Taiwan, politicians, scholars, influencers, even clergy, were told to work hard to prove their loyalty. They should push CCP talking points, push CCP narratives, polarize society, burn bridges, spread division, you name it. So these 4 orders are classic CCP subversive maneuvers. They strike directly at Taiwan's vital democratic organs. Let me first break down CCP's playbook step by step. Step 1 is create controlled chaos. Push through controversial laws in the legislature. Stoke public outrage. Use media and social media to fan both sides. The blue camp versus the green camp in Taiwan, and then flood the streets with angry crowds. CCP's goal isn't protest. The goal is to cause a collapse of social trust. Beijing wants to create an environment in which people stop believing the news or government officials. They stop trusting the police. Social media will be effective to instill distrust. So this distrust in CCP's plan will spread to everyday life. People eventually will start suspecting their friends and family and everyone around them. And so it will let this public anxiety ferment so that society is eventually torn between 2 carefully crafted false choices. It's democracy versus stability, clean governance versus public order. When the chaos reaches a boiling point, CCP spies will repeat history by staging a Xi'an incident type of coup, in which a peace-loving general will take the Taiwanese president hostage, forcing him to stop the chaos by asking Beijing to step in. And just like that, Beijing's plan is halfway complete. Step number 2, paralyze Taiwan's immune system. So you may say, why can't the Taiwanese president use the military to restore order? No. Taiwan's military can only defend against foreign threats. If the president tries to deploy the military to quell domestic unrest, CCP-controlled media and politicians will immediately hold press conferences accusing him of abuse of power, being a dictator, and being oppressive. CCP's friends in Western media will also amplify this narrative. Headlines will scream, President of Taiwan cracks down on his own protesters. At that moment, Taiwan's military leader will face an impossible choice. Obey the chief commander and become war criminals, or refuse and be perceived as treasonous. So they will be forced to choose inaction. What about the police? Well, first of all, there aren't enough of them. Secondly, they are under pressure from agitated public and self-righteous politicians and media. And so they're afraid to act. So when the military and law enforcement become politically paralyzed, Taiwan's entire security system has imploded. And that leads to step number 3. The final blow comes when the parliament issues a formal resolution on a piece of paper. So this resolution will be passed by the parliament that is controlled by a pro-Beijing majority. So they will hold an emergency session, then read a carefully crafted statement, something like, to prevent a total breakdown of a social order in Taiwan and any possible humanitarian crisis, this legislature, under the authority of blah, 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 formally invite the mainland to send security personnel to assist in restoring stability. Notice the wording. There's no mentioning of the PLA, no mentioning of unification, no declaration of surrender. But once that invitation is passed, the People's Liberation Army will dress up as volunteer security personnel and land in Taiwan. Just like Victor Gao described, they will enter the island wearing security uniforms. And Beijing will announce to the world, we respect the decision and are responding to the lawful request from Taiwan's lawmakers. And Taiwan's legislature will issue another decree preventing Taiwanese military, police, or the public from resisting the mainland security forces, or they will be reprimanded. So the whole world will be stunned when this happened. And just like that, Taiwan's democracy will be buried alive in the name of a democratic process. No blood, no tanks or fighter jets. It uses Taiwan's all-powerful parliament and pro-Beijing politicians, as well as pro-Beijing media and the entire CCP undercover network to make this happen. It doesn't destroy democracy, but hijacks it. It turns democracy against itself. And here's the most chilling part. It's already happening in Taiwan. Step by step, Beijing's internal takeover plan is unfolding slowly. So now let me talk about the progress they've made in Taiwan. There are 4 strikes. The first strike is in the legislature. So CCP's sharpest weapon is hidden behind something that's called parliamentary reform. It sounds totally harmless, but it's deadly. On paper, it promises efficiency and oversight. In practice, it has become a sledgehammer in the hands of Beijing's proxies inside the parliament. This so-called reform grants the KMT-controlled legislature 3 extraordinary powers. The first one is contempt of Congress law. So if an official gives vague answers or refuses to answer at these hearings or displays the wrong attitude or simply refuses, right? Lawmakers can charge him or her with contempt and haul him to court. And the second is unlimited investigative powers. And there's no limits, no safeguards. Ministers, generals, intelligence chiefs, even private citizens or business owners are fair game. If they don't like you, they can investigate you. They can put you under investigation. And the third is they can force the president to appear for questioning. So this reform crosses a constitutional red line. It flips the balance of power upside down, placing the legislature above the presidency and crushing the authority of the executive branch. So now this almighty legislature can paralyze the government, silence the president, and hollow out Taiwan's administration from within. And that's not it, okay? That's first strike. And the second strike is slash defense. While the mainland's threats grow daily, what is Taiwan's legislature doing? Cutting defense budgets to the bone. Air defense, nothing. Radar, gone. Missiles, slashed. And this isn't fiscal prudence. It's sabotage. It's cutting Taiwan's nerves before the enemy even strikes. And this has terrible consequences because in the Taiwanese military, budget cuts caused pessimistic sentiment. Officers and soldiers are openly whispering, we can't defend Taiwan because politics has tied our hands. And this certainly puts a smile on the CCP leader. The third strike has to do with check and balance, right? So you may ask, what about the organization called the Control Yuan? It's Taiwan's constitutional watchdog tasked with auditing, investigating corruption, and impeaching officials. It has been defunctional or neutered, shall we say. So through interference, pressure campaigns, and endless stalling, this body has been left running on fumes. And in June this year, two reps, one from the People's Party and one from the KMT, they introduced an amendment to abolish this organization outright. And they want to shift its powers to the legislature itself. And this measure now has enough support to advance. So that means only one thing. The legislature investigates everyone, but no one investigates the legislature. And it is its own watchdog now. Checks and balances, dead. And the last strike it targets Taiwan's financial lifeline. So the KMT lawmakers, the opposition party, now propose that the legislature itself, bypassing the executive branch, bypassing the cabinet, should hand out cash directly to the public. And this tactic is reportedly one of the reasons the KMT survived the first wave of the recalls, by simply promising the public cash. Again, this is legislature overtaking fiscal responsibility of the executive branch. If this passes, Taiwan's budget won't be managed by professionals. It will become a political ATM controlled by whichever party dominates parliament. Today, it's vote buying handouts. Tomorrow, it could be used to give welcome packages to the PLA. So the above four strikes give you a clear picture of CCP's intention in Taiwan. When the budget is misappropriated, when the military is demoralized, when the president's hands are tied, and when oversight is dead, Taiwan will no longer be a functioning democracy. It will be a hollow shell, ready for the final takeover. I'm not saying that Taiwan has become a non-functioning democracy, but it's heading in that direction if people don't stop it. I want to bring up two successful cases in which the CCP used the same playbook. One is South Korea and the other is Hong Kong. I think the rest, not just the Taiwanese, I think the rest of the world should study these two cases carefully. So let's take a look at South Korea first. In my opinion, it's already walking the path Beijing designed. So pro-U.S. President Yoon Suk-yeol tried to stand firm against Beijing's encroachment, but the pro-CCP opposition in parliament strangled his government at every turn. Yoon sounded the alarm, warning of communist interference in national security. His answer? Declare martial law to save his administration. The result? He was impeached, detained, briefly released, and then dragged back into custody. His supporters openly blamed China and North Korea for orchestrating his downfall. And who replaced him? A pro-Beijing candidate, Lee Jae-myung. Lee Jae-myung, he won the presidency in a special election. The nation is split down the middle, but Beijing has what it wanted. Its man in Seoul. So on July 22nd, a conservative civic group protested outside the Chinese embassy in Seoul. So they tore apart a Chinese flag printed with Xi Jinping's face and shouted CCP out. The response? Instead of defending free speech, their president, President Lee, condemned the protest as a hate rally. He ordered a crackdown on his own citizens, words and actions that drew praise straight from Beijing. China's mouthpiece, the Global Times, celebrated the moment. It quoted experts who called it a positive signal that Lee's government was aligning itself with Beijing. Reports even suggested China's ambassador to South Korea, Xing Haiming, had pressed Seoul to take action against the demonstrators. And President Lee delivered. And former President Yoon's wife, the former First Lady, is now behind bars. For the first time in history, a South Korean presidential couple sits in detention, accused of corruption and evidence tampering. So the symbolism couldn't be sharper. Beijing's rivals are erased, humiliated, and neutralized. The result? A once free ally of the U.S. now has a president who shields Beijing's interests. South Korea, in some ways, has already gone further than Taiwan in China's political takeover plan. The second case I want to give you is Hong Kong. It's the same playbook, different city. Beijing planted politicians, co-opted the media, and mobilized loyal grassroots activists. They were never the majority in Hong Kong, but they didn't need to be. Step by step, they turned one of the freest, most prosperous cities on earth into a cage. Journalists are jailed, youth beaten, locked up, or forced into exile. Even CCP party elders like Wen Jiabao admitted their shock at how quickly Xi Jinping managed to pacify, quote-unquote, pacify Hong Kong. Even the party elders had expected the city's free-spirited people to put up a long fight before throwing the towel. So the lesson is clear. Beijing doesn't need tanks to conquer. It uses parliaments, media, social platforms, and some elites and politicians, as well as grassroots activists, as weapons. And it's already winning battles, first in Hong Kong and maybe now in Seoul. So that's why I remain deeply concerned for Taiwan's safety and democracy. So please don't take it for granted and don't be complacent.